Hello and welcome back to Candid with Christa. So happy that you are joining us here today. I am so incredibly excited to invite Wendy Petty's, well, I was about to say back, because technically she is back because we have done a Candid with Krista together before when I first introduced these conversations on Instagram Live. I believe we did ours in either 2020 or 2021. And I was just telling Wendy before we started that just a few days ago, I got a memory about our first Candid. And I was like, wow, how incredible it is that we are back I guess about 6 years later, but around the same time having a conversation. So Wendy, thank you
Yeah.
so much for saying yes again to another conversation.
Yes, happy to be here.
Wendy and I actually met via a Facebook group. I think we ended up having like a virtual coffee or something like that, and just really ended up connecting. I love what Wendy does, what she represents, just freedom with women and helping women with money, helping women in terms of owning their sexuality. And we are going to dive into all of those juicy tidbits today. So I'm really excited to talk about sex and dating in midlife. So Wendy,
Yes.
let the people know what you've been up to and let's get into it.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be back. I'm so excited to be with you again. It was so great to just see you on camera. We did meet online and we became fast friends. And then remember we met in person at in LA
That's right.
at Club Quarantine. I believe that relationships online can be just as valid and deep and connected as ones in person, or less so. That doesn't matter to me. It's about depth and connection.
Yeah.
So I guess a little bit about me. I'm a native New Yorker. When I met you, I was living between Vegas and New York and flying back and forth a lot. I'm back in my home where I grew up. But all along, I've run this business called Sexy Money. And the concept of sexy money, it's really a movement. I am a psychologist. I have an MBA, and I'm a sex educator. And I've gone through all kinds of things in my life that have created this opportunity for me to help people to get real comfortable about the relationships in their life with their money, with other people, and with themselves. And so Sexy Money is kind of this brand that brings that all together. And now that I am in my middle age, shall we say,
Yes.
it's even more important that I help with the things that I know how to do and the things that I have created in my life. And, so that's kind of what I do and why.
I really love that. And I want to talk about how has Sexy Money evolved more particular to you as you have entered into midlife.
It's so funny that you say that, because when I look back at pictures and I look back at, even things like this that I've done, it has evolved. I thought I was always really grounded and really like, absolutely no, absolutely yes. But as I have grown and as I have aged and have been blessed to do so, because so many of us don't get that opportunity, and I consider it a blessing. So I tell everybody I'm 57. I don't hide, my age or whatever, but the evolution of my work has changed also, with me just deciding what I will do and what I won't do. I used to do long, drawn out help things because, oh my God, I got to help you and stay with you forever and ever and ever. And now I do VIP days because I am about, we don't have time to waste. We don't have time to futz around. We don't have time. And so, you either want to do it or you don't. I raised my prices. I used to think, well, let me just, give it away and let me just, help everybody and whatever. And now there is a certain type of woman that wants to work with me. She is successful. And if she's not as successful as she wants to be, she knows that investing in herself is really, really important. And so she is willing to beg, borrow, and steal to figure out how to pay for this experience. That is a glorious, delightful, beautiful experience. It's
Mhm.
one-on-one, which is what I like to do. I've kind of tailored
Yes.
my work to be what I like to do and how I like
Mhm.
to do it so that I'm at my best, you know?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so that is how it has evolved, from classes that were, once a month and once a quarter and very, very group oriented to this one day experience that
Mhm.
has, pre stuff and has um, post stuff, but it's
Mhm.
really about a day to kind of work through these areas of, how are you treating yourself and the
Mhm.
relationship with yourself? How are
Mhm.
you being treated by other people and the relationships with them? And what do you want them to be? And also your money, because if your money is not right, you're not able to be as good to yourself as you want to be and interact with people in the way that you want to. I'm no longer trying to save the world. I'm no longer, trying to make sure that everybody that I can do everything for everybody. And so that has come with wisdom and grace and grounding and priorities.
And so when was that switch for you though? When did you decide for yourself that you weren't going to have this I have to save everybody mentality? In previous conversations I've had, the thing that comes up a lot, of course, is as we age and as we gain that wisdom, and a lot of times as we enter into midlife, there seems to be something that shifts within a lot of us where we decide that we are going to lean further into living our lives authentically and what feels good to us, regardless of what other people might think about it. And so I'm just wondering, when you decided, okay, I am going to raise my prices, I am going to create this standard for myself, when did that happen for you, that shift?
So I think I've had it in me for a long time. I mean, my mom, who's gone now, has had talked about even as a child in my stroller that I would be
Mhm.
out, she'd be pushing me, and I would be like, I don't know if I like that person or I don't. Like I would just kind of decide for myself. I
Mhm.
always put myself to bed, like, you hear
Mhm.
about children where they're like, oh my
Mhm.
God, I can't get them to sleep. They want to
Yes.
stay up. I would,
Yes.
when I could talk, I would say I tired and I would like go to bed,
Mhm. Mhm.
So there were always these signs. I always was really independent, but I think it officially started. So my dad died 5 years ago in January. So that was 2021. And then my mom died in May of 2023. And I think that was like the closing of everything. We don't have
Mhm.
time for this. And I was making changes little by little, I'd say
Mhm.
since the pandemic, little changes and shifts. I've always been I will fire a client in a minute, because there's no amount of money you could pay me to put up with some crap, or
Yes.
if I want it more than you do. So
Mhm.
it was an evolution, but I think that really those two events kind of shifted me. And ironically, and not so ironically too, because I believe everything happens the way it's supposed to. My parents were
Mhm.
the happiest they had ever been in their life when they died. When they
Wow.
died. And it
Mm.
was a short time before then that enabled them to be happy, truly,
Mm.
truly happy. And
Mhm.
so I think that that kind of solidified for me even more what I wanted for other people.
Mhm.
Not more than they should, but
Yes.
that is what I'm really trying to do. I don't have time, to
Yes.
wait. People
Yes.
who are futzing around and whatever. And I'm a gentle partner up to a point. Like I will
Mhm.
say, I know this is hard. I'm a psychologist. Like I get it.
Mhm.
I will say, I know this is hard. I've been through this. I can feel the resistance. You're probably going to hate me before you love me. Like, but let's keep going.
Mhm.
Probably the last couple of years, I really
Mhm.
solidified it where I'm not going back.
Do you find yourself working more so with women in midlife, or are you working with a range of women?
Most of the people that come to me now are midlife. There was
Mm.
a long time during the pandemic where younger girls, younger women
Mhm.
were coming to me, which I thought
Mhm.
was, oh my God, that's so great. But they're not
Mhm.
ready. They think they are.
Why do you
and
say that?
so much life to live that if
Yes.
they decide the things that I'm trying to, the knowledge, the thing, the wisdom that I'm trying to impart for them
Hmm.
to discover,
Hmm.
there's still so much change that's going to happen. On the one hand, I thought, oh my God, if I had known what I know now back then,
Hmm.
oh, whoo, but
Hmm.
they have so much life to live that they're not settled enough to really make these decisions and choices fully.
Hmm.
So I could do and I could help, but I found that until you're really grounded and know the things that you know as you age, hopefully, because
Hmm.
age does not always make you wise,
Sure. Yes, this is a fact.
And some of those young women, I was like,
Mhm.
ooh, ooh, ooh,
Mhm.
yes, you
Yes.
are ready. But most of the time, it's people, I'd say 40 and older, but 50 and older is really my sweet spot because
Mhm.
they also feel the sense of urgency. And again, not in a scared way, but in a I want to do something way.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, yep, that's what's been coming to me.
So now we're going to get into the actual nitty gritty and tea
Yeah,
of this conversation. Now
yeah.
that you have established that, what are, first of all, your experience, whatever you're willing to share, and then what are you finding the experience around sex and dating is with women, with yourself and the women you work with in midlife?
It's funny whenever I get this type of question, I think my experience, and I have to say, is not like other people's experiences.
Yeah.
And so I am not here to preach or to suggest anybody have a lifestyle or a life like me. I can talk about my experience and I can talk about the experience of my clients and and just the people surrounding me. So my experience is I have always been really open in my relationships. I don't have what you would consider traditional relationships. I'm not married, so therefore technically I am single, but I do have relationships, multiple relationships that work on trust and honesty and peace and love. Long-term relationships. One I met in college, one I met after like I'd say 25 years ago. Another one probably about 20 years ago. So I've had these long-term relationships, and they are all intimate, not all sexual. And that has evolved. And so what I will say about my relationships is that they all have evolved. And
Mhm.
much like what we're talking about, like I'm in a different place as well, and they are
Mhm.
in a different place. And so
Mhm.
physically, our bodies are different.
Mhm.
Our emotions are different. We all have had loss. And so we're
Mhm.
thinking about things differently. I renegotiate my relationships every year. I have a conversation with each of them, and but a conversation with myself first, like what's working, what's not working, what do I want more of, what do I want less of, and not just my intimate relationships, but my friendships too. And so I asked my best friend, and she was like, I need more in-person time. We used to travel
Mhm.
all the time, and it's been a little chaotic. And so we were like, oh, yes, let's prioritize. But my intimate relationships, we have the conversation. And that came after kind of just building it into the practice of how we choose to interact with one another. So,
Yes.
and it still shifted and it always will shift because as we
Mhm.
grow and as we age and we have different priorities and different thoughts. So my
Yes.
relationships look very different than they did 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And that's okay. My clients too are having shifts and changes. They're really reflecting inwardly on what they want and what they don't want. I do find the difference between me and them is frustration. My clients are really, really frustrated to not have the relationships that they want. And even though my relationships have shifted and they
Mhm.
are not perfect and they take a lot of work and energy, I am so grateful for everything that we have
Mhm.
and how it has evolved.
Mhm.
Most of my clients are in a place that they feel a sense of lack. I'm not married. I don't have a regular partner. I don't have this, I don't have that, I wish this. And I just
Mhm.
don't have that mindset. So it works a little differently for me. And it's not
Yeah.
a judgment,
Mhm.
but I would love to help try and shift that. For instance, in my relationships, when we do get to spend time together, we say thank you. Thanks for choosing to spend this time with me. You could have been someplace else,
Mhm.
whether it's an in-person interaction or it's a phone. One of my partners, he'll say, I know that you need connection and you need time. So sometimes I don't call you until I can fully focus. And
Ah.
and I was so grateful for that because
Mhm.
sometimes I was receiving it that, we haven't seen each other, we haven't talked and blah. And
Mhm.
so just that moment where deliberate choice is happening is really,
Mhm.
really important to me. And so I find that my clients, when we do the part about the relationship with others, they're assessing things, but sometimes are assessing from the sense of lack rather
Okay.
than the sense of what they have. Even sex, like if we're talking about sex and
Mhm.
intimacy and partnership, whether it is, a fling or a deep connection or, whatever, um, maybe fear a little bit about what the future will hold. And I think it is, about getting older and my body doesn't look the same way that it looked when it was 20. And I have stretch
Mhm.
marks and things hang
Mhm.
down and and
Mhm.
all this
Yeah.
stuff and stuff hurts too,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
which is
Mhm.
unexpected. And I don't think that we as a community, as a Black community, as a community of women, as a community of human beings interacting with each other, talk enough about real stuff. So we don't often have the tools. We, the global we,
Mhm.
including myself too, because I have to navigate. Okay, so I've had these long-term relationships, and everybody's penis doesn't work the same way it did before.
Mm.
Everybody's libido is not the same as it was
Right.
before. How does that interact with the psyche of Black men and men in general? My body, I'm not lubricated the same way that I was before. I've had painful sex, which is like,
Mhm.
what the hell is going on? There's been some
Right.
bleeding. What, and what does that mean for me in this body? And I've had
Yes.
gynecological issues. So that sent me into, oh my God, am I sick again? So we have to keep talking about these things in a way that makes it very, very comfortable, but we're not taught to do that.
We are certainly not. And that's exactly why I wanted to have this conversation and have these conversations because
Yeah.
it is very important because to your point, because I think we get so shielded by the shame that
Hmm.
it prevents us from being open about these things. And
Yeah.
also, I think another key factor is one of the things that I do love is that a lot of these conversations are happening for women in particular when we're talking about how our bodies are changing. Perimenopause has entered into the chat, which I had a conversation recently, and I know growing up, perimenopause wasn't even a thing.
No.
Menopause wasn't even spoken about. It was
Right.
called the change, and it was
Yes.
very hush hush. So I'm glad that these conversations are happening, but I believe the next layer that does need to happen is we need to understand our bodies always,
Yes.
and always being curious about what is happening with our bodies and doing our best to separate the changes that they might be going through from shame or value, making sure that there's a separation there. Also, that you also need to understand each other's bodies
Yeah.
beyond just, okay, what the normal conversation is around sex.
And there's an art to it
Mhm.
because we're all human beings still, and there's so many layers that you may never discover even in a 20-year relationship. I mean, over the pandemic there were things that I learned about my partners that I was like, how come I never knew this? And it wasn't even like deep things. It was like, I didn't know that you like lamb chops. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it just
Right.
never came up. Like, what? I
Right.
had no idea that that was your favorite meat. And so when we talk about having these conversations, you got to be really comfortable with yourself. and be willing to jump into it in a way that you feel safe and they feel safe.
Absolutely.
And it's hard.
I'm not at all, to everyone listening, I am not at all trying to say that it's easy. And for some, it might be easier than others. And then
Yeah.
obviously also it depends upon who you're having these conversations with. So yes, there are a lot of layers. One of the things that you mentioned when you were talking about your clients is you mentioned a lot of frustration that
Mm-hmm.
they are expressing.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're talking about clients that are single and
Yes.
not ones that are partnered.
Yeah, I find most of the frustration is with my single clients who are looking for partnership and looking for relationships and
Mm-hmm.
relations. I find that let me think, my partnered clients are frustrated only when their partner doesn't want to do the work as well. And as I'm thinking about it, most of my clients are not happily partnered.
That was what I was trying to figure out why I asked that question, is because I was curious about that.
If they're partnered, they're not happily partnered, which is a whole other conversation.
Right. So you have single people that are frustrated because they are looking for partnership, and then you have people that are partnered that are frustrated within the partnership. And
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what the common through line is there. Because I feel like if you are single and you're frustrated because you can't find partnership, maybe the people you're coming in contact with aren't able to show up with the things that you need in order to feel safe, seen, sexy, whatever it might be. And then it might possibly be the same set of circumstances for people that are inside of a partnership as well, because
Okay.
they don't feel that they're being met. So, like, you know what I mean?
It's I think you're onto something here. The common denominator is you,
Mm-hmm.
me. And
Mm-hmm.
so I do find the same traits
Mm-hmm.
in people who are frustrated by this, whether they are partnered or unpartnered,
Mm-hmm.
that until they can break through and just be,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to keep coming up. But what I find is the thread for me about success, like my success metrics, are people who are willing to do something different.
And also, I think, or I wonder, Wendy, I'm single currently,
Yep.
and I do desire partnership. My thoughts about what that has to look like have evolved and changed
Mhm.
over time. And I just wonder, because, when I think about when I was in my 20s, I was hyper focused on being married.
Yes.
And that was the goal, to be married, have children, even from a young age.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, was that something that was just fed to me and I latched onto because I thought that was what it was supposed to look like? And so everything that I did was centered around that because of that reason.
Mhm.
I just really wonder, like, when people are talking about, especially now in midlife, when we're craving people, those of us that are craving partnership, are we questioning the reasons why we want these things first, and then moving from that standpoint rather than what we think it's supposed to be or what we think it's supposed to look like? I'm wondering if the frustration is coming from what we think it's supposed to be rather than.
Hands down. Hands down. I mean, a lot of my work is about asking people to question whatever it is that they believe, were taught, think, because I don't care what it is that you think or believe or want, but I want it to be your thoughts and your beliefs and your wants. And
Mhm,
we are conditioned. I
mhm,
was just having a conversation with someone and I said, as successful as I am,
mhm,
as accomplished as I am, And I can list all the accolades and I can brag and I don't think bragging is a bad thing. I think we need to celebrate the things that we have achieved, especially the things that we have achieved on our own. When I go someplace where people haven't seen me in a long time, they say, oh my God, I've seen you on Instagram. I've seen you on Facebook. Oh my God, I love your stuff. And because of you, I looked and my net worth is this. And I'm a millionaire too. Or you've helped me this. You said something, blah, blah, blah. And then they say, are you married yet?
Wow.
And oh my God, you would have made such a great mother. You don't have kids, right?
Stop.
Oh, it happens all the time. And I used to get like really offended by it. And now I just expect it. And I'm like, nope, I'm well loved. And actually, you know, like I couldn't have kids. And in hindsight and looking at it now, I'm like, oh my God, I'm glad, because my life would have been so different. That's what I usually say. Your value, the value that is put upon you as a woman. Oh my God. I am a millionaire. I own a home. I have no debt. I have had a business for 20 years, a successful business for 20 years. I worked on Wall Street. I have degrees, but my value is that I have never been married and have never had a child, which means to people that I somehow am flawed because I have never been chosen and I have never done what my body was innately prepared to do, which is really sad.
It is. It's
and offensive.
Yes, both.
And so I don't know why I'm like this. You know, like I was engaged in high school. And I think that was because I was having trouble in my household and wanted to just get out of my house. And, you know, luckily his mother was like, you guys are too young, and like took him away like my senior year and like moved him away. Like, I don't think it was because of me, but I think she was like, you know what, I'm going to take my family from Brooklyn to, you know, North Carolina. And by my first, and I was going to college, he was finishing up his senior year in high school. And, you know, we had this glorious prom, and, you know, I mean, like in hindsight, I'm like, oh Lord, oh Jesus. But by my first semester in college, he had cheated and gotten somebody pregnant.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, absolutely not. So I've been this way, but I'm not above feeling, you know, whatever it is, shamed. I don't feel shame, but feeling shamed by, you know, the fact that I've never been married. You know, like when I have to fill out a survey or something and it says single, never married, I'm like, oof, you know, and I'm like, why does that matter? You know what I mean?
Right, right.
That's because of the pressure from everybody else. That's not my own. And so getting back to what you were talking about, I think we have to find out what is our own. And I think even when navigating relationships, especially intimate relationships, those that we want, those that we're in, those that we have left, you know, and figuring out all of that, we have to find out what we desire. And I think we are not taught how to do that. Typically, we are like we do with jobs, like, ooh, pick me, pick me, pick me. And I am like, I need to find out if I like you, just like a job. I do these workshops about dating and how it's like job searching in your interview, which is your date. I am not like trying to sell you on me. I'm trying to figure out whether this is something that I want to do, whether I want to work there, whether I want to continue this relationship, and not in a you got to prove to me way, but in a curious way, but grounded from what I want.
We should always be the starting point.
Yeah.
But I think to your point, we don't get that. Like that's not necessarily, especially not to women. It's not taught to us as something I think we learn along the way through wisdom and experience. And then we get to a point, and usually around this time, around midlife, to where they start talking about the bullshit about the midlife crisis and why this channel is anti that is because it's like, no, you're finally coming into yourself after all of those things that you've tampered down
Yeah.
within, because you've been living in conditioning for so long. And then you get
Yes.
to a point where you're trying to break out of that prison and
Yep.
finally define for yourself, this is the life that I want to lead. This is what I want the the final chapters of my life to look like.
Yeah. And I think that people also push it all the way to the other side. Like if we have a spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
we've been stuck in the what does everybody else want? Like my sister and I had run this group for years called Sister Connection, and we would ask 4 questions of the year. Like we'd gather the first Sunday of the year, all women, and we would ask, what are you proud of from last year?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to do next year, this year? What do you have to offer someone else? And what do you need?
Mm.
And whenever we answered that question about what are you proud of, it would inevitably turn into, oh my God, I'm so glad my son got into college. Oh my God, my husband, got a promotion. I'm so proud of, what? No. What about you?
Yeah.
Did you learn something, grow something, fix something, build something, achieve something, and it was always about everybody else. So all the way over to this side, that part of the spectrum, we are conditioned. If I asked you what roles you have,
Mm-hmm.
they're always in relation to someone else
Yes.
as our value. That's all the way
Right.
over here.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have all the way over here where sometimes when we get to this point, we're like, fuck everybody.
Right. Yes. Yes.
And that doesn't work either. So there is a happy medium.
Yes, splitting the difference.
And we have to learn that because we are easily conditioned over here.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes easily conditioned over here too, because what we learn, we either go with or go against.
Yes.
Consciously or unconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, let's have some conscious thought. Let's listen to our bodies. And like, I'm not woo woo, I mean, I'm kind of woo, I guess, because I do believe in energy, you know what I mean? Come on, we know, like I'm New Yorker. I'm not, I'm so I am
got it.
one woo. Because I do believe, I trust my body. I will in a minute be like, I am leaving here. I'm leaving here. I don't like that person. This doesn't feel right. I need to go left. I need, I trust that stuff in my body, but we have to also practice. And so I do practices like this beautiful glass. Like it's just iced tea, but it feels so good and it's beautiful and it's little things like that. We have to start tuning into what do we really like? What do we really want? What do we really desire? How many times have you asked somebody, hey, let's go get something to eat. What do you want? Oh, I don't care. I don't care. Whatever you want. You do care. Because if I said sushi, you'd have a reaction.
It's the discovery of what it is that you want, that you desire, and then allowing yourself
Yes.
to move into it. Because you can acknowledge and see it all day, but if you don't take the steps to actually step into it and actually embody it, then you're going to stay stuck in just the want and not the actual experience of it.
And knowing that you deserve it, because there's the desire. I call it desire and deserve. They come hand in hand. If you want something, but you don't think you really deserve it, then it doesn't go anywhere. I don't care what you want or what you desire or whatever, as long as you really want it. And I'm going to call bullshit if I see that you're, swaying towards I should or whatever like that, only because I want to shock you out of that. And, sex is tricky. Sex is tricky. Desire is tricky. I may like this. You may like this, and we have that layer of shame and guilt and, how we're supposed to show up. And I'm trying to, shake it a little.
And so have you, the type of relationship style that you have where you have different partners that serve different parts of your life.
Yeah.
Has that always been the case for you? over the course of your life, your
Uh,
dating life?
for most of my life, yes. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I can remember in high school, my boyfriend and I had cut school and we were in the mall and we were walking, holding hands, and some cute girl passed and he like, did this
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like, and I was like, she is cute. I was like, you don't have to hide from me, And he was like, but and I was like, let's get this clear right now. Like, it has no reflection on me if you like someone else or you're attracted to someone else. Like, we make the rules here, and if our rules say that, but don't assume that that is our rules, So I
Mm-hmm.
remember that in like high school, like early
Mm-hmm.
high school. I remember falling into it and not really discussing what things were, but not thinking that I couldn't see anybody else. I think that kind of
Mm-hmm.
evolved after college and during college. Then after that, kind of in my 30s and 40s is when it was more deliberate. This is a person who's in my life. They're going to be in my life forever and ever. Amen.
Yes.
If you want to be in my life, I have room for you, but not if you expect me to not have this person in my life. I am willing to have this conversation with you, and it may change at some point. We may decide different, but I gotta tell you how things are, and I want to keep you informed in this because we're human beings, and so
Right.
when this relationship is not going well, I don't want to jump into like relying on you more,
Right.
because that's not what you
Right.
signed up for. So for as long as I can remember, I've always been open to this,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know where it comes from, because my
Okay.
mother was very, very traditional,
Mm-hmm.
and in denial traditional. We are going to stay
Mm-hmm.
together, even though I'm miserable, you're miserable. We don't really like each other. We are, because
Mm-hmm.
the powers that be,
Yeah.
and her parents. I mean, I've done a lot of work on, kind of understanding who people are and why. Just a quick
Mm-hmm.
plug. There is a book called What Happened to You. It's
Mm-hmm.
Oprah and Dr. Perry, I think it is. The premise of the book is that if we can be curious about what happened to people rather than being offended or labeling or judging, we can
Right.
free ourselves and we can help other
Yes.
people. Shifted and changed my life in terms of my relationship with my mother. I was very, very judgmental about
Mm-hmm.
her and hurt by a lot of the things that she did to me and whatever. And then I started researching like her parents and what had happened to them and their
Mm-hmm.
parents and what had happened. She couldn't be any different than how she turned out. My father too. My father, his history and all of that, he was a bit of a rolling stone. Like we were like, we don't know if there's other children around, but there weren't,
Right.
it's just my sister and
Mm-hmm.
I. So neither one of them were traditional, but they were married for 26 years and miserable. My father left.
Mm-hmm.
And my
Mm-hmm.
mother chose to view that as, you abandoned me. And even though she had an opportunity for love, like her college, high school person she reconnected with,
Mm-hmm.
we found letters, we found all kinds of stuff after
Wow.
she was gone. And
Mm-hmm.
he died miserable, and they could have had an amazing life together. My father married someone after my mother, like 10, 15 years after the divorce, for
Mm-hmm.
security. And when
Mm-hmm.
he realized that that was not what he was getting with that,
Yeah.
he left. He didn't divorce her, but he left. And
Mm-hmm.
he, for the first time in his life, had an apartment that was just his own. Because he went from his mother and his grandmother to the
Mm-hmm.
service, to my mother, to, living with friends and stuff after the divorce, to this other woman,
Mm-hmm.
trying to find some security. The
Yeah.
last 3 years of his life, he was like, fuck that.
Right.
I am going to live. He took us, he used to take us to Outback. Whenever he took
Mm-hmm.
us to Outback, there was a deep conversation to have.
Okay.
And so we were like, oh my God, is he sick? Is he whatever? And he was like, no, I'm leaving her. We were like, yes, And
Mhm.
so they both wound up living and being the happiest they had ever been in their life. But it could have been such a different life.
That's the part, is
Yeah.
trying to usher people into, or invite people rather,
Yeah.
into this self-exploration of what's
Yes.
true and authentic for themselves,
Yes.
so that it doesn't have to be you're looking at the end of your life, like
Yeah.
looking at it directly, and then asking what could have been, what should have
Yeah.
been, and having regrets.
Neither
Yes.
does your sex life.
Mhm.
Like if you want to explore something as a fantasy or as a real practice, if you want to explore with yourself, explore with other people, same gender, different race, whatever it is that sparks you, first you got to get in tune with what that is, which is a beautiful process. But I mean, it's so layered. You may not be able to get there until you can decide who you are.
We keep coming back to the same thing, deciding who you are.
Who you
Who
are
are
and who you
you
want to be.
apart from the conditioning? Who are
Yes.
you apart from these things? And questioning yourself. Like I find
Absolutely.
myself asking myself, like, okay, does this thought really belong to me? Does this belief really belong to me? Where did it come from? Where
Right.
are the breadcrumbs of this? Is it something that is solid, or is it something that's very flimsy and that's been fed to me and I've just held on to it all of this time? What do I still, at 49, almost 50,
Yay.
still need to shed? And also, like you said, determining for yourself, okay, this may just be a fantasy of mine.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Which is okay.
Or it's something that I actually want to see through. But like
Yeah.
having these conversations with yourself and allowing yourself to be honest
Yeah.
with yourself. You know what I'm
With
saying? 'Cause a lot of
yourself.
times too, it's like it's just you. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
just
I'm just
you.
asking you just to have this conversation, even just with yourself to
Just with
start.
yourself. Because once you start to do that, then you don't accept anything else that will, mess with that. And I'm not talking about ignoring it or tempering it down. Yes, I am still grieving. Yes, absolutely. But I'm grateful too. There are moments, and somebody said to me, Wendy, you're always so happy. And I'm like, oh, I'm not. I'm not. I am vicious at times when necessary. But you have never created that in me, nor do I feel like I have to protect myself in any way. I am absolutely capable. God willing, you never see that.
Right.
I work hard to make sure that we don't have those interactions, but I can go there and I will to protect myself, to protect other people, but I don't stay in that state. And I know how to get myself out of that. And I know when my shoulders are up, and I know when I can feel my blood racing, and I know how to get myself back. Those are the kind of things we have to learn and we have to teach ourselves, because we were not taught to self-soothe.
And I also like to enter into the chat that to release the idea that if you're a certain age, oh, I should have this figured out by now.
Oh, yeah.
I should
No.
shouldn't be having to go around this again. Like, it's a journey, and it's always something to explore, I feel.
Yes.
And leaning into that and not labeling and saying that it shouldn't be that way because well, I'm in midlife. I should do this way. I should feel this that way. And it's like, no.
I do this as my gift, and I learn every single day and have to shift and have to check on things and, ooh, why am I feeling that way? I thought I was over that. I thought I had addressed that. I thought I had navigated that feeling, that thought, that idea. I mean, every day, not every moment.
Yep. Yes. And it's putting those, and it's like you're continuing to put those reps in. It is intention after intention after intention, just continuing to show up. And I think if we can remove the shoulds, if we remove the shame, if we can remove the conditioning and just really allow ourselves to be and give ourselves permission, I think that's a good place to navigate from. Okay, so two things that I want to be sure that we talk about today.
Okay.
Shifting gears slightly.
Yes.
But on the pleasure piece, there was something that you said when we had our first conversation, and you were talking about why women should be having orgasms as it pertains to connecting to success.
Yes.
Can you break that concept down?
Yes. So that's actually where I started. When I hit rock bottom for myself, I remembered being trained as a sex educator and how important pleasure was, especially to women. It makes us more clear, more productive, more energized. Orgasms in particular, but the journey to pleasure also very different from men. Men, they have to hold back from their pleasure because it is depleting for them afterwards. So you hear about sports, they don't have sex before playing Super Bowl or whatever like that. We need this fuel to propel us to be able to do these things. Your mind is cleared. And so that is a practice that I have. So I make sure that, yes, of course, if I have time for an orgasm, partnered or unpartnered, absolutely clear my head, gets me out of a funk, gets me the energy to go clean my house, makes me figure out a problem, makes my body physically feel better, aches and pains go away, that kind of stuff. And so it is very, very, very important for us to concentrate on pleasure. Now, women historically have not been having orgasms easily. So 70% of women do not have orgasms easily without assistance from a toy, from and that's fine. And even with a toy, sometimes our heads get in the way. And so there is an orgasm gap when women are having sex, and typically men are orgasming every single time and women are not. And Jesus, I want to stop that. But
yes.
but and that's a whole other conversation also. But the notion, I mean, it's good for our health. Simply, it is good for our health. I have a button, I don't know where it is right now, but it says orgasms for all.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it fundamentally and physically and neurologically and, physiologically, our bodies are designed to welcome pleasure and to use it for fuel so we can get shit done.
I love that. That needs to be on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yes.
And so what is it that you love about this stage in life?
So many things. I think the wisdom, just the wisdom and the peace. Like I just do what I want to do, nothing more, nothing less. And that is a privilege that I've earned, to be able to do that. And it's not as cut and dried as that really, because I do have to do other things, that I don't particularly like and whatever, but I've earned the right to, when I do have choice, when it is something that I'm choosing, I really do choose based on how it feels and what I like and what I don't like and who I want to spend time with. And, and again, I'm not in isolation. So yes, there's people I want to spend more time with, but their lives are, in connection with mine, and it can't always happen. But yeah, I think the wisdom, just the ability to put all the things that I've learned along this journey into practice, is what I am most excited about at this phase of my life.
And then what have you not yet done that you still want to do or plan to do?
I think in terms of this context of this conversation, I think that, I've never lived with anybody.
You mean a romantic? You mean like a
romantic partner. We've never lived together full time. I've traveled and spent time and that kind of stuff. And so, what came up for me in this conversation is what might that look like accelerated a little bit. I do not want to live with anybody full time. Jesus, I don't think that you have to.
Right.
But I think there is room for more structured time, that feels like it's craving a little bit in me. And I don't know what that may look like, or whether that's adding another partner to fill that part, or whether it's talking to my guys, seeing how that can be, whether that's, that we meet quarterly, like on a structured kind of thing. I don't know. So just kind of exploring what that might look like.
Mhm.
I think I haven't done that before.
Okay. All right. I feel that. And what would you tell 25-year-old Wendy about aging? Let me be more specific.
About
What would you tell?
aging?
Yes.
Oh, that, because actually when I was 25, I was having a lot of problems with my body
Mhm.
gynecologically. And, so I think what I would say about aging is that your body will settle down. It will
Mhm.
settle into um, what feels good and what it needs to do. And just believe that, I'm 100 pounds lighter than I was.
Mhm.
I have more energy. I am clear, all of those things. So I would tell her to just hang in there and keep fighting to figure out what's going on in your body, because your body does know, you know,
Mhm.
and you don't have to figure it out on your own. But
Mhm.
there's this glorious time that's coming where you are centered and you know what you know, and you are an advocate for yourself, and you can get the resources and surround yourself with people and things that you love and need.
Mhm.
So yeah, and keep having orgasms, like
Yes.
because
Oh,
it
that
will.
too.
Yeah,
Yes.
that too. Because
Absolutely. Let's definitely
be
continue
selfish
that.
about it. Be selfish about it.
Okay, so
Yes.
before we get ready to wrap up, there are just a couple more items that I want to do. Number one, I
Okay.
want to do my little this or that
Uh-huh.
speed round. And
Okay.
then I want you to close us out with your final thoughts.
Yep.
So, sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Okay. Morning sex or nighttime sex?
Nighttime.
Salty or sweet?
Salty. Hands down.
Okay. Boys to men or Jodeci?
Oh, that's hard. Jodeci. So one of my partners is in the music industry, and there is a connection there. Jodeci. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll let that simmer. Okay. So
That's the real name of my company is Simmer.
stop.
Yeah, my brand is Sexy Money. My company is called Simmer,
Are
because
you
I believe
serious?
that everything that we need and desire is right under the surface, boiling right under the surface. Yeah.
I love that. And y'all, I had no idea. All
Yeah.
right, Wendy, how I would love for you to share your parting thoughts or words about aging, pleasure, sex, money, whatever you feel.
I wish for everybody watching, listening, that you can find yourself, that you take on this growing older and growing wiser as a quest to find yourself, that you find what makes you feel sexy and what makes you feel secure, and that you lean into that with curiosity. And so that is my wish for you and for the people around you, that it will ripple, that you get that. And then you say, ooh, that to someone else, that you start noticing the things that in you that, delight you, and that you start noticing it around you, so you can help people to get there. Because if we can accomplish this, we can change the world.
Agreed. And I think that goes into once we give ourselves permission to live the life that we really want to lead, that it does give other people permission to do
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
I appreciate your wisdom. I
Thank
appreciate your
you.
time.
You too. You
And
too.
thank you. Thank you. And for anyone that is watching this, please let us know in the comments what nuggets that you took away from this conversation,
Yeah.
and lean in. Thank you again.
You're
And
welcome. Thank you.
all on the next Candid with Krista.
Yes.